Every parent wants what's best for their child. It's pretty much universal, isn't it?
Absolutely. It's fundamental.
But, when parents separate, figuring out that best path, well, it can get incredibly complicated.
And really emotionally charged. It's tough territory.
Exactly. So today we're doing a deep dive into a really powerful case study from India. It sheds a lot of light on just how important a child's relationship with both parents is.
And it looks at the ways that relationship can be affected, sometimes subtly, sometimes not so subtly.
Right, and the crucial role that experts, psychologists, judges can play.
Mm-hmm.
We're digging into excerpts from an actual Delhi High Court judgment. So this isn't theory, it's a real-world legal battle.
It gives us a unique window into these challenges and, importantly, the insights of a child psychologist involved in the case.
It's not just legalese. There's real human drama here, centered on the well-being of a child, master-sitted.
Yeah, so our goal here is to unpack this family's journey. The mother, SHILPI THAPAR, the father, MANAN THAPAR, and their son.
And pull out the key lessons, about trying to foster healthy parent-child bonds, even when things are really tense between the parent.
We'll look closely at the psychologist's strategies, which are quite detailed, and how the court ultimately decided what was in the child's best interest.
Okay, let's unpack this fascinating case then and see what we can all learn about navigating these co-parenting challenges, really, for the sake of the kids.
Sounds good. It's a compelling story, offering a really granular view.
So let's set the scene. The legal side kicked off back in 2013.
Right.
And it was initially about interim custody, basically, temporary care for Master Sahid. He was only 4 years old then.
Just a little guy.
Yeah. And right away, there were hurdles for the father, SHRI MANAN THAPAR, getting access. An early court order, December 2013, gave the father interim custody for a few days in January 2014.
Okay.
But the mother, SHILPI THAPAR, tried to get that paused. She cited the child being unwell, a viral fever.
Which happens, of course. But what's interesting is how the court handled that.
How so?
Well, they did stay the full custody transfer, but they came up with a compromise.
Okay.
They allowed the father to visit the child, but at the mother's home. The court specifically wanted to ensure due paternal affection was still available.
So even with the health concern, they prioritized maintaining that father-child connection somehow.
Exactly. They recognized its importance right from the start. The order even said a maternal relative could be present if the child needed medical care during the visit.
And did things improve? It sounds like they tried to make it work.
Well, initially there were signs of progress. The first meetings were actually in a lawyer's office.
Right, I saw that.
But then they moved to more child-friendly places.
Yeah.
And by March 2014, the court itself noted clear progress, building up of a reputable bond between father and son.
So some positive movement, but I get the feeling there's a but coming.
There is. Because just a month later, April 2014, the mother again sought to stop the visits.
Why this time?
She cited the child undergoing some psychological treatment.
Okay, so another potential roadblock. How did the court react then?
They actually dismissed that application.
They did. Why?
They found the medical report she provided unreliable. And significantly, they pointed out her delay in telling the court.
Meaning, if the visits were really that bad for the child, she should have reported it immediately.
Precisely. The court basically said it was her duty to raise serious concerns promptly, not wait. It hints at maybe other factors being at play besides just the child's immediate reaction.
That makes sense. So the court saw the early bond, but also these recurring challenges popping up.
Yeah, hinting at deeper dynamics, perhaps beyond just logistics or health scares.
And despite all this, the court kept pushing for contact.
They did. Visitation hours were increased first from 4 to 6 hours 4 times a month,
Okay.
then adjusted again to 3 hours each, but 6 times a month, with some flexibility for weekends and holidays.
So more frequent, shorter visits.
Right. And eventually the father was allowed one overnight stay in May 2014, and they shared custody for the child's birthday.
Seems like steps towards normalcy, albeit court-ordered.
But the struggle continued. The father ended up filing multiple contempt petitions.
Meaning he alleged the mother wasn't following the court's visitation orders.
Exactly. That pattern of alleged non-compliance really highlights the persistent battle to ensure the father could actually have that consistent time with his son.
Wow. So it wasn't just setting the schedule, it was enforcing it too.
Yeah. Those contempt petitions tell a story of ongoing resistance, which inevitably affects the child's stability and relationship building.
Okay, this is clearly getting complicated and fraught. Where did things go from here?
Well, and this is where the court decided it needed a different kind of input, an objective, specialized perspective.
Ah, the psychologist.
Yes, they brought in Ms. Nandita Chaudhary, a child psychologist and family counselor.
And I read something remarkable about her involvement.
Her refusing payment? Yes. She viewed her work on this case as a contribution to society.
Asking for donations to a children's charity instead. That says a lot.
It really does. It underlines her commitment was purely to the child's welfare, free from any other influence. Her integrity shines through.
So what did Dr. Chaudhary find in her initial assessment? This was around September 2014.
She observed first that Master Sidheed was very close to his mother. That's natural.
Sure.
But the attachment showed signs of anxiety, maybe partly due to the court environment itself, which can be stressful for anyone, let alone a child.
Okay, anxiety. What else?
This is the crucial part. The child showed extreme hostility towards the father,
Extreme hostility. How did that manifest?
both in drawings he made and in person. And importantly, he was constantly looking to his mother for cues.
Like checking her reaction before reacting himself.
Exactly. And Dr. Chaudhary's conclusion was profound. She said this hostility was not simply on account of the relationship or incident with the father.
Meaning it wasn't just based on his own experiences with his dad.
Right. But also a story that has been created for him by others.
Wow, a story.
She felt it wasn't necessarily the mother directly, but the people whom he stays with, who were, in her words, demonizing the father.
So the influence of the wider family environment, maybe the maternal grandparents or other relatives?
That seems to be the implication. She saw the child as disturbed, anxious, and actively hostile towards and rejecting of the father.
That sounds heartbreaking.
It is. But here's another key observation. He was willing to smile at and to accept the father when the mother told him to.
So his hostility wasn't absolute. It could be switched on or off, depending on the mother's cues.
That's what the psychologist observed, which reinforces the idea that it wasn't entirely generated from within the child himself.
Okay, this is huge. The expert is pointing directly at external influences shaping the child's view of his father. This really makes you think, doesn't it? For anyone listening, how much do those subtle or not so subtle messages from caregivers shape a child's reality?
It's a critical point. And based on this, her initial recommendations were very direct.
Aimed at fixing this dynamic.
Yes. First, she said both parents had to focus on the other parent's place in the child's life. Prioritize the child over their own bitterness.
Easier said than done, I imagine.
Absolutely. But she identified the child as the biggest victim here. She insisted regular visits must resume, starting in the mother's presence.
And crucially,
The mother must be positive towards the father. Not neutral, but actively positive for the child's psychological health.
it's a high bar when there's conflict.
It is. And the message extended beyond the mother. Dr. Chaudhary was explicit. The extended family must be told that demonizing the father is damaging the child.
And that it must stop.
Yes, emphatically. She warned that the father's place must be treated positively to prevent irreparable psychological damage.
Irreparable damage. Strong words.
Very strong. At this point, she still recommended custody stay with the mother.
Okay.
But with these urgent warnings about needing a fundamental shift in the whole family environment's attitude towards the father.
So she saw the problem wasn't just the parents' direct conflict, but this wider negative narrative.
Precisely. She recognized how deeply ingrained it likely was and the need for a holistic approach.
Okay, so Dr. Chaudhary identified the problem and the need for a positive shift. Did she offer practical ways to achieve that?
She absolutely did. By May 2015, she provided incredibly specific, actionable guidelines for the joint visits. These weren't just vague ideas, they were like a step-by-step manual.
A script for positive co-parenting, almost.
You could say that. For example, a key point was about asking the child about visits.
What was the guidance there?
The child must not be asked if he wants to meet his father.
Really? No choice.
Not about the meeting itself. The psychologist said he must be firmly told he has to meet his father. Choices could be given about smaller things, like where to meet or what activity to do.
Interesting. So firmness about the contact, but some autonomy within it.
Exactly. That firmness provides security and structure. It takes the burden of choosing off the child.
That makes a lot of sense. What about the mother's role during these visits?
Very specific instructions there, too. The mother and her family must prepare seated for the meetings with a positive approach.
Okay, positive prep work.
And during the visit, the mother should gently withdraw, let the child move around. If he clung to her,
Which he had been doing.
yes. If he clung, the mother was told to firmly insist he is old enough to sit on his own and play with his father.
Discouraging the clinging, encouraging independence with the father.
Right. And for the father, his approach was also carefully outlined.
How so?
He must not insist on showing or giving the child anything, no pressure.
Just be present.
Be pleasant and open and willing, but not forceful. Let the child come to him. He should simply express, I have come to meet you, to spend time with you. I want to be here with you.
Gentle, non-demanding presence.
Exactly. And communication between the parents during handover or visits.
Yeah.
No fake and sugary praise, just be factual. Like, your father brought this for you.
Keep it neutral, keep it real.
And crucially, absolutely no criticism of the other parent in front of the child or by any family member.
That seems vital.
Totally. No investigations through the child about the other parent's home or life. And a direct instruction. Mothers, grandmothers, aunts, and uncles must restrain themselves in discussing family politics in the child's presence.
Wow. These guidelines are incredibly thorough. They really map out how to create a safe space for the child, free from the adult conflict.
They really do. It highlights just how intentional and structured these interactions needed to become, especially after a period of, well, potential alienation. It's a blueprint.
And did this detailed approach start to work? What did Dr. Chaudhary observe next?
By July 2015, she did note some positive signs. She described a clear thawing of the relationship between the two parents.
Okay, that's good.
And the general atmosphere around the child and towards each other was pleasant for the first time.
Progress.
Some progress, yes. But the core issue with the child persisted.
The clinging.
Yes. He continued to cling tightly to his mother, especially when the father was around. He also refused gifts from the father.
So the positive atmosphere between the parents wasn't fully translating to the child's behavior towards the father yet.
Not entirely. The psychologist noted this intense need to be stuck to the mother seems clearly reserved for periods when the father's around.
That's specific.
She even intervened directly, suggesting the mother stop physically carrying the boy, who is now a tall 6-year-old, to encourage his independence.
Makes sense. And then there was a really direct conversation, wasn't there?
Yes, a critical moment. Dr. Chaudhary asked the mother point blank, do you trust Manan with Sidhid? Do you trust him to keep the child safe?
And the mother's response?
She said yes. Without hesitation, she even agreed the father had been a good caregiver in the past, like pacing with the baby at night.
So intellectually, she trusted him as a parent.
Apparently so. Yet the psychologist observed that despite this stated trust, the mother continued to stonewall, subtly resist any discussion about independent time between father and son.
Oh, by treating the child as younger than he was.
Yes, using what Dr. Chaudhary called a baby-like method. The psychologist believed this, while perhaps subconscious, served as an excuse to keep Sidhid from having independent time with Manan.
Because a child who goes to school has a tutor.
Is clearly capable of spending independent time safely with his father.
Right. So there's a disconnect between the mother's stated trust and her actions regarding access.
A significant disconnect.
Yeah.
And this led the psychologist to propose a new strategy.
What was that?
A clear and distinct strategy for independent time between father and son as a long-term goal, maybe over 2 months.
How would that work, practically?
It required the mother to, for example, pretend to go to the toilet or something, tell the child she'd be a while,
Okay.
and clearly state that Sidhid has to be with the father and enjoy himself during that time.
Wow, really micromanaging the separation to make it happen.
It shows the level of intervention needed to try and break that pattern of the mother's constant presence acting as a barrier, even if subconsciously.
This feels like it's reaching a critical point. The psychologist is trying very specific tactics now.
Yes, and her concern was clearly deepening. Around that same time, July 2015, she stressed that something in the child's current environment is sustaining this clinging and it must be attended to.
Still pointing to the environment around the mother.
Yes, and she issued a serious warning. A speedy and effective strategy for movement towards independent time with the father is an urgent need.
Urgent for whom?
Both for the child as well as for the mother. And then she stated something quite stark.
What was that?
That father absence has far more serious consequences for boys than for girls.
That's a significant statement, highlighting potential long-term developmental risks specific to boys without father involvement.
It is. And she followed it by saying the decision about the child's relationship with his father cannot be left to Shilpi, the mother.
Why not?
Because, in the psychologist's view, she is too closely bound by her resentment towards Manan to see his point of view, or arguably to see the child's independent needs.
So her personal feelings were seen as directly blocking the child's best interests regarding the father.
That was Dr. Chaudhry's professional assessment. It really raises that difficult question. When does a parent's own emotional pain cross the line into harming their child's fundamental right to the other parent?
And things didn't get better from there, did they?
No, they unfortunately seem to deteriorate. By September 2015, Dr. Chaudhry described her final meeting with the family as very distressing.
Distressing how?
She observed lingering hostility and reluctance to allow Manan, the father, to play an active role as a father. She felt the resistance wasn't coming autonomously from the child anymore.
Meaning it was definitely being driven by the caregivers.
Yes. She concluded the child's memories and interpretations were completely guided by the primary caregivers, in this case the grandmother, maternal, and mother.
Wow. And then came the mother's request.
Which was quite shocking given everything. The mother asked for the cancellation of the father's visits altogether.
She asked to stop them completely after all this effort.
Yes. Questioning why they were necessary and why does the child need to be exposed to this.
How did the psychologist respond to that?
She strongly disagreed. She emphasized it was the child's right and the father's right.
Did she give any broader context?
She did. She mentioned that many progressive countries have laws preventing one parent from even moving away, specifically so the child can maintain relationships with both parents.
Underlining the importance placed on dual parenting elsewhere.
Exactly. Her conclusion about the mother was blunt. She seems to clearly act as if Sidhid is hers and hers alone, and Manan is an unnecessary person in their lives, or worse still, a negative force.
Oof, that's a damning assessment.
It is. And when the mother continued to blame the father for the child's insecurities,
Dr. Chaudhry pushed back.
She completely disagreed. She attributed the child's insecurities squarely to the present caregivers, the grandmother and mother, and not the fleeting encounters with the father.
So the very environment meant to nurture him was identified as the source of his insecurity.
That was her expert opinion. And it led her to take a drastic step.
Which was?
She essentially withdrew from the case professionally. She felt she was unable to make the mother appreciate the best interests of the child.
She felt she couldn't help anymore.
Pretty much. She urged the court to intervene directly, stating it was essential for Manan to remain an active father for Sidhid's psychological development.
Her withdrawal itself sends a powerful message about the severity of the situation.
Absolutely. It underscores just how entrenched the resistance was and how vital outside intervention had become for the child's sake.
So the expert basically hands it back to the court, saying, I can't fix this, you need to act. What does this mean for Master Sidhid now? This expert report sounds like a really stark warning.
It absolutely was, and the court took it very seriously.
Oh, serious.
The High Court judgment explicitly stated it took Dr. Chaudhry's reports as having immense authority and value. They fully adopted her expert opinion.
So they agreed with her assessment of the harm being done.
Yes. The court concluded that the child's overindulgent association with the mother is injurious to his growth.
Injurious. That's strong language from a court.
Very. The judgment went on. The mother's care for the child is stifling his emotional growth, and her overprotective concern is inhibiting the development of his individuality and personality.
Stifling his growth, inhibiting his personality.
And therefore, the court said, it is therefore necessary to immediately remove this unhealthy influence from the child's world.
Wow. Remove the unhealthy influence. That points towards a major change.
It does. And they directly addressed the father's role.
What did they say about that?
The court emphasized the development of the personality of any child, particularly that of a male child, is strongly influenced by the presence of the child's father.
Echoing the psychologist's warning about father absence in boys.
Exactly. And they added, depriving the child of the same would be injustice to the child.
Calling it an injustice, that frames it as a rights issue for the child.
Absolutely. This wasn't just about parental conflict anymore. It was about the child's fundamental right to the developmental benefits of having an involved father. The court was clearly prioritizing the child's long-term psychological future.
Did they refer to any legal precedent for taking such a strong stance?
They did. They mentioned a previous case, Paramjit Singh Lamba versus Enskut Krabjatkar.
And what was the relevance there?
That case warned that if a mother is deliberately turning the daughter against her father, the court might have no choice but to award custody to the father.
So there was precedent for changing custody based on parental alienation or obstruction.
Yes. It showed the court was prepared to make significant changes if one parent's actions were consistently harming the child's relationship with the other parent.
Okay, so considering the psychologist's reports, the observed lack of progress over nearly 2 years, and this legal precedent, what was the final ruling?
The court made a decisive move. It granted interim custody of Master Sidhid to the father, Mr. Manan Thapar.
Full interim custody shifted to the father.
Yes, effective November 28, 2015. This was after observing the mother's failed efforts over 23 months to facilitate healthy interaction, despite the psychologist's guidance.
What about the mother's contact?
She was granted visitation rights, mirroring the schedule the father previously had.
So 6 times a month, 3 hours each.
Exactly, with flexibility for mutual agreement. The court also instructed the mother to prepare the child for the transition and hand him over in the presence of a senior mediator.
A mediated handover, likely to manage the difficulty.
Probably.
Yeah.
And holidays were to be divided equally. Interestingly, the father also agreed to the child spending weekends with the mother, showing some willingness for continued maternal involvement despite the custody change.
That's a truly pivotal moment. The court essentially stepped in to enforce the child's right to a meaningful relationship with his father based on expert advice about his developmental needs.
Precisely. It underscores that while the bond with a primary caregiver is vital, it can't be used, consciously or subconsciously, to block the other parent's essential role, especially when an expert identifies clear harm to the child's growth.
This deep dive, then, into Master Siddhid's story, it really offers some profound lessons, doesn't it, for anyone navigating separation?
Absolutely. We've seen how crucial expert psychological insight can be in untangling complex child behaviors, looking beyond the surface.
And revealing those hidden influences, like the story being created.
Right. And it hammers home the importance of actively fostering a positive relationship with both parents, even when it's personally really, really difficult.
Especially when alienation might have already taken root.
Yeah. The case shouts loud and clear. A child has an inherent right to a meaningful relationship with both mother and father.
And actions that get in the way of that can have serious long-term consequences. The warnings about irreparable psychological damage and the specific impact of father absence on boys are hard to ignore.
Definitely. Those are critical takeaways for parents, family members, and maybe even legal professionals.
And the psychologist's detailed strategies, how to talk, how to manage visits, they offer a practical roadmap, don't they?
They do. It shows that creating a stable, supportive co-parenting setup requires conscious effort, structure, and sometimes guidance, even when it feels unnatural because of the conflict.
It's about intentionally putting the child's need for both parents ahead of the adult issues.
Exactly. It's a call for parents to move beyond their own pain or resentment and actively implement strategies that support the child's bond with the other parent. The court had to step in here, but the psychologist's advice shows ways parents could potentially navigate this better themselves.
So here's a final thought to leave you with. If legal systems and psychological experts place such a strong emphasis on having both parents consistently involved, what does that truly tell us about the essential building blocks for raising a healthy, resilient child? How fundamental is that dual parent presence?
It's a deep question.
And maybe, how can our collective understanding of family, especially post-separation, evolve to genuinely prioritize that need? What can you, listening, do in your own communities or families to champion the crucial role of both parents in a child's life?